You've been watching that interview with former governor of Abia State, former governor Orji Uzo Kalu, where he's been talking about the issues in the Nigerian Governors Forum, politics generally, and that of 2015 presidency. Well, let's come to our major issue tonight. Well, House gave their report on the Constitution review, and they submitted that on Thursday. Deleted the immunity provision from the Constitution, raising the prospect that someday Nigerians will be able to seek and obtain the prosecution of any of the 7 leaders, including the president, governors, and their deputies, if they are found to have violated the law. This is against the position of the upper chamber, and it looks like an idea that the governors may strongly frown at. Well, on the discussion tonight, I have on the panel a legal practitioner, Mr. G.T. Ogunye. Thank you for joining us on Politics today.
It's my pleasure to
And I have a human rights activist, Mr. Debo Adeniro. Thank you for joining us on Politics
today. It's my pleasure.
today.
Thank you.
We're standing by in our Abuja studio is a politician, is a national chairman of the National Conscience Party, Alhaji Yunus Tanko. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. Let me start with you there in Abuja, Alhaji Tanko, if you can hear me. We've seen what is playing out. This is let's stay here for a minute here in Lagos. Let me start with you, Mr. G.T. Ogunye. Give us a perspective on this. This seems to be somewhat a constitution issue, legal matter. House is saying a different thing. The Senate is saying a different thing. What do you think is wrong with that section 138 of our Constitution, immunity for the executives?
Now, what is basically wrong with it? It's not just the core letters of the provision of Section 308, which grants immunity to 3 or 4 categories of office holders: the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor. I think that what is wrong with that provision is how that provision has assisted lack of accountability and lack of irresponsibility in executive governance. That's what is agitating. It's not just that the provisions are bad in themselves, because these provisions also exist in the constitution of other countries. But in our own climate, in our own situation, because those in executive power have committed all sorts of atrocities while in government against the people of the country, leaving the people without a remedy. And because of the way we've evolved politically since 1999, once they leave office, if the balance of forces changes or the political situation changes, they can just escape. We're not assured that, as the Supreme Court once ruled in the case of that Chief Ganifa took all the way to the Supreme Court, that even if investigation were conducted while that was going on, while that crime was being committed by an ex-executive governor or president, that once he leaves power, people can have recourse to bring him to justice. We don't have those assurances. And so people are saying that while that action is going on, the people should have a remedy. The people should have the right to bring these super executives to justice. So I think that is the way corruption has taken the center stage in our country, that is agitating the minds of the people and is making people to agitate that immunity clause should go. In the belief that once the immunity clause goes, then these persons will be more careful, because they will now realize that they have no legal cover, so to speak, to do all that they want to do. However, it's a double-edged sword, in the sense that once you remove that immunity, you also have other problems. And what are these problems? One of them is that given the way executive power has been deployed by the powers that be at the center, and I'm not even talking about this president, I'm talking about the president before him, Olusegun Obasanjo, and the other president, Yar'Adua. Once you remove the immunity clause, in the Constitution, what do you think will happen to the governors? If the immunity clause were to be removed now, what do you think will happen to Amish in River State and some other people? So that is the problem. So those who are saying that they want to remove the immunity clause, they need to look at the Constitution as a complete whole. You can't be talking seriously about removing the immunity clause without attempting to refederalize the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is only federal in name only. You can't be talking about removing the immunity clause without talking about state police, local government police, and so on and so forth. So it implicates other areas of the Constitution, and you need to think out of the box. It's not just the immunity clause. It's a whole lot of provisions in the Constitution.
Just before we go to our Abuja studio, let me come to you, Mr. Adeniro. You are the national coordinator of the coalition against the corrupt politicians and corrupt leaders. The fact remains that even with the immunity clause that we have, a lot of our politicians, ex-governors, are in the Senate, in the House there, and they are facing some corrupt charges, or one or the other. But do you think that even if it's removed or it's not removed, does this really matter?
Thank you very much. You actually speaking my mind. You know, whether it's removed or not removed, it doesn't really matter, because there are so many politicians in high places without immunity clauses, and they still, you know, soil their hands in the sleeves of corruption all the time. And there are many of them who had lost their or relinquished their immunity clause by their ouster from government houses. And the